Hi, I'm Angie Hilton and welcome to Unbreakable Entrepreneurs. As business owners, major challenges are inevitable. So how do we steel ourselves to weather the storms? Here, you'll find real-life stories of resilience, as well as tips from thought leaders and mental health experts on how to become unbreakable entrepreneurs. Geelong-born Michael Stangel is a musician, record producer, songwriter, artist manager and board member for Geelong Waterfront Film. Entrepreneur by nature, Michael is never short of a creative idea. In our chat, Michael reveals some great business insights, as well as his personal journey of recently finding out he has adult ADHD and what he went through when he was told he had 3 months to live. The good news is that was 10 years ago. Michael, you look very scared. What was that scared look you just gave me?
Oh, it stops the wrinkles from under my eyes.
Can you do it again? Oh my gosh, I'll have to practice that
10 years younger, but a lot uglier.
I think you might be scared because I've known you for a very long time, which means I know you very well. I know all your secrets, and I could expose you on this podcast.
Do it. Go for it. I deserve it.
So Michael is Geelong born and bred and been in the music scene and pretty much every scene you could think of in terms of entertainment. But you are a chamber member via the Geelong Waterfront Film Group. So let's start with that. Can you explain to everyone what that is and what your involvement is?
So I'm a board member at Geelong Waterfront Film, and what we're trying to do is get Geelong to be focused on, I suppose, content creators and bringing an opportunity for content creators to come to Geelong and ply their trade. And I think the main thing we're trying to do is to get people to be involved and realise that being a content creator is great, but there's also a lot of room for business owners. There's a lot of room for the region. I mean, what better way than to show the region off than on film? So, for those reasons, we've really been focusing on trying to help out young content creators and also bring some established people to the area so that we can, I suppose, create a honeypot or a hub for content creators. And obviously, my part in the music industry is one of the reasons I'm on the board. But I've also been working, on film and TV for a long time as well. So there's a cross-pollination of interest there.
So what events or what involvement can we have with Geelong Waterfront Film? What are you wanting from the public?
Well, first of all, you can become a friend. So you can go to the website and there's a small fee to become a friend. And I suppose when you become a friend, you get invitations to all of our events. And events may include anything from red carpet events to talks on projects that are coming to the area. Also talks on the industry, so we get lots of industry professionals to come in and talk about what's going on in film and what's going on in Geelong. So, and there's lots of other ways too that you can be a business member. And a lot of times people might be recording filming a film here in Geelong, and they'll need a hairdresser, a makeup artist, they'll need a carpenter, they might need an electrician to get the sets going. So there's a huge array of opportunities for Geelong business.
So do you have like a directory or something that people can look up who's in town that they could call on for those services?
I'm glad you asked. Yes, we do. We have one on our website at the moment, but we're working with some people at the moment to make it even easier and more applicable to more people to come to the website and more user-friendly. So opposed just, sort of ticking a box and saying I'm a hairdresser and, if somebody's doing a film, they could utilize me. It's an interactive world that we're trying to make and we're in the process of getting that up and running. Hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be able to get that up and going.
And why do you think that Geelong and the Surf Coast and all the regions around us are such a great place to come and start being creative and producing content? Do you think we've got a big talent pool within our little network?
There's a huge talent pool in Geelong. There's so many people that I'm still finding out that are, from down the Surf Coast or down Ocean Grove or, in Geelong City that have done amazing things, including, nominations and winning Oscars in America. And, there's been a really rich talent pool that's come out of Geelong as well. But I think that one of the main things is it's just got a great, everywhere from the beaches to the the Yangs, to the cityscape. I know Geelong's been used many times in a lot of period films. You just got to go down to West Geelong and, you're in 1940 in some of those streets straight away. And then you go in the city and it's looked like you're in a futurescape. So it's got so much array of scenes and scenescapes that to be used that we want to help exploit that even more.
It really is exciting for our town to think what's possible in the near future, because I agree there's a huge creative pool in here and we all just need to come together and start churning out the content. So on to you, though, this podcast being about entrepreneurs and how we get through tricky times. Now, you have a million ideas, and that's probably why you're on the board. You're an ideas man. Can you give us a nutshell of your background and all the things you've been involved with over this time?
Sure. Well, look, I suppose to summarise where I came from, my dad was a business owner and an entrepreneur. And one thing he taught me when I was really young is that there's no point in saying no. Just say yes to everything. And if you say yes, you're going to, even if you don't have success or you fail, you will learn. And I think that, one of the lessons I've taken out of, being an entrepreneur or trying lots of different things is nothing goes to waste. So when you make a mistake, it's just one mistake that you're not going to make in the future. So, just focus on all what you can do. Stop saying no to things because you're afraid of what might happen. Say yes. It's just all a part of the journey. I mean, one of my favorite thoughts is that, the journey is the obstacle. Don't try and walk around obstacles. Go over them, go through them, because then it's something you've learned forever. So it's definitely something I've taken on when I've gone about trying different things.
So where did you start? You followed in your dad's footsteps and you thought, I'm going to work for myself. But where did it start? Was it in music?
Yeah, it started in music. I was about 14 and I auditioned for a band. I was a terrible singer, not a bad drummer. And I played in this band. We did Italian gigs. We did weddings and things like that. And I remember once doing a gig where we played at a pub and the publican come up to one of the guys in the band and said, look, I love the band, but if the drummer doesn't sing, I'll have you back. So that's how bad I was. But, that's when the origin started, because I was only 14 at that stage. But I had the foresight to actually buy a PA and hire it to the band. So, back then, I think we made about $60 a gig or something. We're talking in the early 80s. But I would charge an extra $25 because I bought the PA. And it really sort of started there. I thought, oh, hang on, if I invest a little bit of money here, the PA probably cost me $200, $300 back then. After a year, I've made my $200-$300 plus another $300-$400. And in those early 80 terms, equate that to thousands. And it really dawned on me that, doing lots of little things or aggregating what I do on top of my love, which is playing music, created an extra income that has sort of stood me fairly well since then.
And so you went from being a professional musician. What was the next step where you branched out a little bit?
So from playing music for a long time, I started to become an agent. So I was in a band. We were touring around the country all the time. And what I realised, there was a real void there. A lot of these venues, we'd play in Alice Springs, Cairns, Darwin, all over the place, Perth, where they were looking for bands to tour around as well. So I had a lot of friends in bands. So I thought, well, I'll book it. So not only was I doing the gigs, I was getting, some friends of mine to come and play the gigs. And again, sort of making commissions on those gigs afterwards. And then after you do that for a while, you become the go-to guy. So, in the 90s, I did that for quite some time, and then had an opportunity to branch out into recording. Good friend of mine, somebody that you know as well, Paul Wilshire, said, hey, why don't you come and learn how to produce music and do it properly? And from there, got to meet quite a few well-known musicians, from Vanessa Amorosi to Human Nature, and work with those guys. And from that foundation, having a sort of entrepreneurial sort of viewpoint on things, it just grew exponentially from there. And I suppose some people call it luck, but I suppose you have to create your own luck at some stage for those opportunities to come. And that's something that sort of happened from being a live musician, being an agent, producer, and then getting into songwriting and working with people like Shannon Knoll and the Veronicas back then. Once your name gets out there, it's up to you to keep it going. So that's what happened after that.
So you were recording with the stars and writing with the stars, and then you went into management, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah. So I went on one of the TV shows, The Voice, and after sort of being out of the industry due to illness for a little while, and after I went on The Voice, I realised that there was all these artists that were on these reality TV shows that were looking for things to do, because you have your supposed 15 minutes of fame. But as time went on, you'd finish one of the shows and you'd have this great value. And then after about 6 months or a year, there'd be somebody else come along and what to do with that and how to maintain that public attention that you got. So I started just talking to some people that I'd met along the way, that were on TV, and realized that I might be able to help them. So, everybody from Human Nature to Taylor Henderson, Nathaniel, I started working with those guys and a lot of other people as well, and realised there was so many opportunities here and overseas. And from there, a lot of those guys have gone on to do really well.
So far, what's been your favourite opportunities and what have been the trickiest things?
Well, I think the favourite and the trickiest are all in one. I think producing music for people was always a passion. And then after I had the fortunate opportunity to work with a guy called David Nicholas, who's won a Grammy and a whole heap of ARIA awards, we decided to have a pact. And I think it all started when we worked with these two girls that were called the Twins. And we got a phone call to go up to Brisbane and work with these twins and produce a demo. So we went up there and it dawned on me that, some of my songwriting skills could be utilised here. So David said, look, I'll tell you what, why don't you help me along with the songwriting and I'll help you along with the producing and how to do that. And those twins were the Veronicas, and that's where we really started a label called Jellyfish Records, sorry. And started out with working with those guys. And then from there, it sort of branched out, working with a lot of the major labels, Sony, EMI, a whole Universal, and utilising the contacts we had there. And then it just went crazy from there. And so many opportunities came in that David and I ended up touring the world, traveling all over the world, writing songs and producing music for people.
That's incredible. So were the Veronicas under your label, or were you managing them or writing for them?
No, we were just we went in there to produce a demo with them. We were in Byron Bay, so it was a great atmosphere to do it in Byron Bay. And then we wrote some songs with the girls, and then the girls had management, and they toured around the world, and they were looking for opportunities. And some of the songs that we wrote with them, they used to get their first deal, which was with Warner Brothers. And those songs that we wrote with them, they didn't actually release themselves, but those songs ended up getting sold, I think a few in Japan and in Europe. And sort of dawned on me, even if you don't have a huge success with what you intended, there's always opportunities, and the royalties still come in from those songs now, as not knowing where they're going to end up, but ended up, those girls obviously had a lot of success and worked with some songwriters and producers who are renowned throughout the world. And from that, sort of a little, almost like a coattails thing, you could end up using that, say, yeah, well, we wrote with them and we did this song and that song, and then more opportunities come, and it depends what you do with those opportunities as to, what you can do. And it's really no difference from, like I said at the start, from coming from an entrepreneurial background, where just whatever opportunities come, just make the most out of them, make those phone calls. Don't be scared to promote yourself. My company is called Michael Stangel Management, and the only reason is because good friend of mine who plays guitar with Pink. I was talking to him and Mark, the drummer from Pink. He does a lot of talks, and he's got this talk that he does, or keynote. It's called, Bring Out Your Inner Rock Star. And he goes all around the world and gets people to come and play the drums and talks about positivity and what it's like to play. He played with Pink and Foreigner and a whole heap of amazing bands. And I remember I was talking to him in a hotel room when they were touring here, and I said, I don't know what to call my business. He goes, just call it your name. And I said, I was, like most Aussies, you go, that's a, a bit American, but the good thing about it, when you call it your own name, Michael Stangel Management, then everything that business causes comes back to your brand and creates your brand and grows your brand without you even being there. I mean, one thing that my father always said to me was, you never make enough money by working just with your hands. You have to make money while people sleep. And I thought, it was a bit confusing. But, with artists, they sell records while they're sleeping. If they just depended on their gigs to make money, they wouldn't be able to make the amount they do. So it sort of dawned on me, whatever I can do, try and make money while you're sleeping. That's the key to creating a successful business or entrepreneurial business.
Amazing. Now, not many of us get to live the rock and roll lifestyle that you've been through. Can you give us a little sneak peek into what that was actually like?
Yeah, well, it depends on what kind of stories you want. There's the classic rock and roll stories, which we won't put on this podcast. And there's, the other stories of having the opportunity to travel around the world. I remember being in New York with David, staying, I think it was on 5th Street or something like that, in an apartment building that, we went to the front door and, we sort of said, look, we don't have that much money, or you can stay on the top floor, and there's all these weirdos and strange people there. And there's a whole heap of stories in that. But I suppose the essence of it is, flying from London to New York, going down to South by Southwest, down the deep South, in Austin, Texas. You get an opportunity to see what the world's like, and realize that the creativity that we have here in Australia is just as valid everywhere else in the world. And once you see that for yourself, you gain confidence and realizing that, going to Hollywood is great, but it's a dirty, smelly little place, really. And it's not what, if you haven't been there, it's not what's cracked up. But I suppose it's all about the ideal. It's all about what was created, which is kind of something we're trying to do with Geelong Waterfront Film, is create the reality in Geelong that, if you think of content creation, you think of Geelong. And it can be done, and it's more about an attitude rather than about what facilities are here. The facilities will come when the attitude's correct.
Now, you brushed over it lightly before, but you had a pretty cool experience on a reality TV show yourself. You got down to the final. You can tell the story. What happened?
Yeah, so I was in the final 3 on Joel, and that was a great experience.
Can I just get you to say that answer one more time, because it cut out something
okay.
you did. Yeah.
So I ended up being on Joel Madden's team, and I was in the final 3. So I got to the final 12, I think, for the show, which we'll call that the finals. And it was a great opportunity for me, especially I was a little bit older than a lot of the other contestants, because I was able to sort of make the most out of all the opportunities that came my way rather than overthinking it. A lot of the younger people that go on these reality TV singing shows, they just, in my opinion, my humble opinion, they overthink it. And there's guys like Steve Clisby, who was on the year I was on, who was a lot older than me, who's made the most of it. Rather than try, I think a lot of younger people try and make the perfect decision. And like I said earlier, the perfect decision doesn't exist. It's a matter of making a whole heap of mistakes. Make sure you learn from those mistakes, that will create pathways for your future. So especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, because you can't really throw any ideas out the window. Every idea is valid. And you should chase it and know when to, let that go, but don't throw it away. Just leave it there, work out a way to leave that idea there and come back to it when need be.
Because it sounds like you have a constant flow of ideas? Is it hard for you to know which one to choose next?
Yeah, look, as you said before, we've been great friends for a long time, and my recent reality of my ADHD has been has been something that I've had to come to terms with, because I do. My wife says you're a shiny ball guy. There's a shiny ball over there, shiny ball over there. You didn't finish that. So it's a matter of getting the right side of your brain, the creative side, and the left side, which gets you to be organised and gets you to finish things off, and keep on sort of balancing between the two, because to be an entrepreneur, you definitely have to have imagination, but you also have to have the nous to be able to see something through and finish it, which is it's just a challenge, from whichever side of it you come from.
Yeah, it's that discipline. And yes, you touch on ADHD, and yes, we're both members of the tribe, and we know that it can be great and it can be super challenging because, like you, I'm very bright and shiny. Oh, what's next? And the structure part I find very hard to stick to without just getting drawn away. So with that in mind, you've just found that out recently. Did that make sense of your life in general, or was it hard to understand?
No, it certainly made sense of some of the things that I don't have any regrets. So I think once I realised that ADHD was part of who I am, it was like, oh, of course that's what it was, and being able to come to terms with the fact that, it's actually something you can use as a superpower as opposed to something you might have been embarrassed. I mean, I'm also dyslexic as well. So, spelling has been a challenge for me. So learning has definitely been a visual thing. The way I learn music is visual. The way I remember things is definitely from an oral visual perception. When it's written down, I find it really difficult. Yes, I'm that person that opens up the packet and tries to build something without looking at the instructions. And
Don't read manuals. Never read a manual.
Never read a manual, because why would you do that?
Oh, that takes too long.
It takes too long, and then when things don't go together right, well, they've stuffed up the packaging.
Yep.
So I'm definitely that person. But it's an interesting journey. I mean, life is a journey. I mean, we're all running to that hole. That hole's there, and we're all going to go into one, or sprinkled on top of something. So, I've definitely since that realised that to laugh at myself and laugh at the funny things that one stage would frustrate the hell out of me, but now are just something I just go, oh, well, that's, like I said, that's part of the journey and part of the obstacle, and I made a mistake, and it's okay to make mistakes, because when you say yes to most things, making a mistake is part of the fun.
All part of it. Now, we haven't touched on it yet, but I know you're very open about having a pretty major health scare a few years back. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it was 2012 that I realised that something wasn't right. I was sort of out of breath all the time, and really tired, and you sort of hear these things and you go, well, what's going on? And turned out that I had a tumour in my heart, and so we got that resected, and I survived that, but unfortunately those tumours broke off during the operation and somehow got into my brain and found some blood vessels and started growing in my brain. So I was given a very short time to live when that come to light, and I had about I think four brain operations to get these tumours out, and luckily for me, through again, it's just accepting what it is, and trying a whole heap of stuff. Some was totally ridiculous, and some was probably helped out, and using conventional medicine along with other heebie-jeebie ideas, I survived. And I'm in remission, and I'm still in remission, and I still have the tumours in my brain, but they're not growing. So, when you have that kind of experience, it definitely changes your life. It changed my life for sure, and a lot of the lives of people around me. And so really it's just I'm like a kid in a toy shop. Everything's exciting, because I feel like the time that I have is time that probably wasn't meant to be, but for a little bit of luck and intestinal fortitude from the people around me got me through. And so, yes, I enjoy all the challenges ahead now.
Because you were actually given by the doctor 3 months to live, weren't you? He told you that. Now, when you hear that, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think in that moment, you're just stunned. It's like you're in shock. And I had to work out a way to get my power back. In that moment, I felt like, when you get told something like that, you feel like you've lost all of your power. Your destiny is now not in your own hands. So I managed to draw on some stuff that I've probably been drawing on my whole life and didn't realize it through my Greek heritage. I was a really big fan of philosophy, and started reading a whole heap of philosophy. And strangely enough, being ADHD and all that stuff, you can focus on what you're really interested in. So I read a whole heap of philosophy, and some of those quotes from way back then, it was surprising to me that they were still pertinent today.
What's an example of one that stuck with you?
Well, I mean, look, some of the really quick, easy ones, carpe diem, which is, live for the day. And I think, I've got that one, I've got my long shirt on, but I've got a big tattoo here, it says carpe diem. And I think that was one that really made me focus on just live a day at a time. And that's the subject of some of the keynotes that I do, that, when I was given 3 months to live, it dawned on me, well, what am I going to do in these next 3 months that are going to make my life full for me and the people around me that I love? And if I use my whole life in those 3 months increments, then I'd get a lot achieved. And doing that helped me get through the illness. And it's also helped me to realize that, you wake up every day and you feel $1 million and you want to go get the day, and then one thing happens and bashes you down, another thing happens, bashes you down. Before you know it, you can either get upset and depressed about it, or you can go, well, that was hell. Right, now let's get on with what I originally wanted to do with the day, and stay positive. And I think a lot of those older, stoicism is definitely a philosophy that I use a lot. Just tells you, that, as soon as you think you know everything, you realize you know nothing. And that is true. So your life is about learning, and it is about that journey. And the journey is rich. It's as rich as you want it to be. It can either be rich or poor. The choice is yours. If somebody's, I used to get quite angry at people that get angry at me, and then I realized, well, I'm the reason they're angry at me. So, there's no point in me getting angry. I may as well just let them throw at me. And it really, how that turns out is it's up to me to determine how this situation is going to play out by how I react to it.
How would you describe the person you were before finding this out? Have you changed a lot, would you say?
I think to some people, a lot of people tell me I have changed a lot. I don't feel like I've changed a lot, but a lot of people tell me I have. I think before this, my conflict resolution was not great. I'd put fire to fire and an eye for an eye and all that kind of stuff. But after this diagnosis, I realized that life's such a gift and something to be treasured. And so when you think of life in that kind of way, you make the most of it and all the opportunities. And it just stems back to what I said, just say yes, don't say no, especially some of the younger guys that I've come across in the music industry. They're very focused on, this is how I want it to be, and I want to be this, and I want that to be that, and I want to use this person, that, which is fine to have that kind of focus and determination, but they don't give opportunities for other people to buy into them. And I think that's one of the main things that I learned was give people opportunities to buy into whatever it is you're going to do. And if they buy in, then they feel like they're part of the reason that this thing is moving forward. And if you give people that kind of effect where they feel like they have a part of the ownership of what's moving forward, they're going to work for you and they're going to do more than if you were being nasty to them or try to make them feel smaller or try and make my biggest focus is never make somebody feel like they're employed. Because as soon as you do that, it's sort of saying, well, I'm up here and you're here, and there's none of that. We're all doing it together and we're all playing our part in moving forward. And I'm, even from a band point of view, I make a point of never saying this is my drummer or this is my guitarist. I'll say he's such and such. He plays guitar. I think a lot of musicians, they in the way they speak, they just form ownership over people's in the band, and I think that's a negative thing.
That's a really great point. I'll stop saying that, my guitarist.
My guitarist.
Did I say that about you a few weeks back?
Probably. I don't know. I can't see. Just water off a duck's back now.
Okay. So what's on the horizon for you right now? What's going on in your life?
So at the moment, I'm focusing on really honing in my 3 months to live keynote, and trying to help get a message out there for people to be positive, to say yes, to live in the moment and appreciate everything. I mean, Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now really is a big part of, I suppose, what we've been talking about the last half an hour, is that, now is real, the future is potential, and the past is gone. So now is real. Focus on the now. Your future will be better, and the past won't affect you. I think so many people are affected by their past when it really, unless it can pinch you and hurt you, that's your decision whether it can or it can't. So let the past go, live in the now, and that will make your future brighter.
Just what you're saying there, I heard someone say about living in the future can cause anxiety, and living in the past can cause depression. And I thought that makes so much sense, and it's so simple, but it sticks with you. The present moment is all that's important, really.
It's real. Really, what's happening right now is real. What happens in the future can change. What happened in the past has already happened.
Yep. And what about, so you're gigging all around town at the moment too?
There's so many gigs. We did it. We did a few gigs together. There's so many gigs right now, and I'm so thankful for that. Obviously, after the pandemic, it was devastating for a lot of people, and myself included. And having so much opportunity to go out and perform now, it's fantastic. It's given me a new revelation. I was actually in the studio yesterday practicing. I haven't practiced for years, but I just thought, I need to get better than myself. So my last gig, I need to get better than my last gig. Try and get the words right. That would help.
You rely on the
iPad? Well, I you know what? So since my brain operations, it's strange because I can't remember lyrics to songs that I've learned after those brain operations. For some reason, it just won't stick in. But, lyrics to songs I learned before, I can remember. I don't need the iPad. But conversely, I never used to be that good at remembering chord progressions or, arrangements of songs. Now, I don't even have to think about it. I can, pick up a chord, hear a chord progression and go, oh, that's what it is, and play it. So something happened in my brain that changed all of that perception, So lyrics are a difficult thing for me to remember now, but and I can't read very well either.
So where can we come and see you sing?
I do a lot of work with Billy Brownless and his pubs. So, the Wharf Shed or Cremorne. Also down the coast, Brew House down at Polar Bay. I love playing down there. And there's lots of local gigs. I put an Instagram post up, and I had a look at my Instagram feed, and I got, people are probably sick of seeing my head. I know I'm sick of seeing it. I'm trying to develop a different way to present it so you don't have to look at this head.
Maybe you could put on costumes. I may have seen you in an ABBA costume once or twice. And
it felt way too good. That wig, I still got the wig. I'm not using it anymore. I pull it out to scare my family sometimes.
Okay, a couple of quick questions before we finish. 3 people that you would love to invite over for your famous Sunday roasts?
Paul McCartney, who I have met once and said, Paul, I'm a huge fan. And that was all I got to say. I think he's
But you can say that you said that. That's the main thing you get to say. You spoke to Paul McCartney.
Yes, I'm sure he does not remember me, but I'd love to chat with him more about what happened way back then. I think that's fascinating. Joe Rogan is somebody that I really enjoy his perspective on things and the way that he has a really open view about the world and how things work and a genuine inquisitive interest in everything. And who would be? I think I'd love to have Achilles around. Achilles, yeah, he's a famous Greek warrior. He was famous for being dipped in a vat of magic potion. So the only way he could die was being shot through the ankle. Now, I'm not sure Achilles was real, but I really, really like that Greek sort of mythology sort of thing. So I'd pick him out of there and have him around too. I'd probably have to chain him down so he doesn't try and kill everybody. But those are three people that interest me.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like quite a Sunday roast. Achilles. That's one I would never pick. Do you have a mantra?
Do I have a mantra? I do. I do have a mantra. And you know what? And here it is. It's on my arm. Okay. It says, once more into the fray, into the greatest fight I'll ever know. Live or die on this day. Live or die on this day. So basically, it correlates with the Carpe Diem, which is live for the day, and you decide what your day is going to be. I think I said it earlier, you wake up with the best intentions and the day ends up punching you down or getting you down. But you have the choice. It's like the analogy of the wolf, which wolf is going to win, that famous tale of, well, it's the one that you feed. If you feed the wolf of envy and anger and all that kind of stuff, he's going to win. If you feed the wolf of kindness and having great intention, then it's going to win. So whatever you decide to feed is what you'll be. So those two tattoos on the inside of my arm, which I might say is the most painful place to get those things done. So it reminds me, it really tells you and reminds me to just live for the day. And it's your interpretation of what happens to you is your reality.
Wise words for a rat bag.
For a rat bag.
Everyone, he's really a rat bag. He's all mature and wise these days, but deep down you're still a rat bag, right?
I am.
Even your wife would say that.
The first one is.
Thank you, Michael. You're amazing. Very inspiring.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome. And keep us posted with Geelong Waterfront Film, and we can't wait to see what's going to come up next for that. I'm Angie Hilton, and thanks for listening to Unbreakable Entrepreneurs Podcast. If you've enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe and head to geelongchamber.com.au for more wellbeing tips. This has been brought to you by the Geelong Chamber of Commerce and the Partners in Wellbeing program.